parents are better than the kids. That's great. Thank you. I'm Cindy Rivera. I'm the department chair for the school counseling department. Thank you very much for all coming today. We're going to get started in a minute, but I just wanted to introduce our new principal, Bill Egan.
Thanks, Cindy. I just wanted to say hello more than anything else. I've met many of you through some of the other PFA events and things like that, but I just really wanted to come and say hello. And it's great to see that I thought I was the only reason that I drew a crowd here, so I'm glad that I'm not. It's great to see such a wonderful turnout. Again, elated that this many parents have come for so many topics. And the school council folks and leads yesterday through the college process, and that's awesome. So I want to thank you very, very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys throughout the year. So thank you, and have a great day.
Okay, and one other quick announcement I wanted to make in honor of today. We will be having a moment of silence in the middle of this presentation. You'll hear it on the intercom. So I just wanted to inform you of that, and we'll stop for that minute when that happens. So, as I said, I'm Cindy Rivera. I wanted to also introduce all my colleagues. This is where I get nervous and forget my best friends over here. I forget their names, so I will try to do this well, but they'll cue me in. So we have Kelly Tamburino, Lori Keene, Nick Willett, Jane Mitchell, Ann Vernon, Linda McGann, Susan Lency, and Susan Carroll.
I wish you did the waiting.
I couldn't do this without them, that's for sure. So today, we are going to review with you what we reviewed with the kids this week. We have been into the senior English classes. Did they tell you about that? Of course they did. So we are going to review with you what we reviewed with them. We gave a much more detailed presentation as to how to go about managing the whole process of getting their applications to the colleges, the whole packages. So we're going to update you on all of that. We are in the middle of still refining their lists with them, helping them to finish up essays, planning for whatever they want to do next year if they're choosing not to go immediately to college. This today will be about going to college next year, but of course there are students who are considering other options. And it really to reassure you that we're here going through this process with you. We're taking this walk with you. You are not alone in it. Your kids are not alone in it. We were in the classes and we gave them a tremendous amount of information on how to manage their Common App, link it to Naviance, how does it all get out there to the colleges, getting teacher reps, all of those things we talked to them about. And at a certain point they glaze over and you're not quite sure that they're retaining very much. And for a lot of them, they're like, okay, thanks, you just really stressed me out. But for the most part, the point was to show them that there are a lot of balls in the air for them right now. They are juggling a lot. We recognize it, it's difficult. It's not difficult, it's complex. There are a lot of steps to it. And it's something they've never done before. It's incomparable to anything they've ever done before. And so they're jumping in and they're scared. And so we're really just there to help them through every piece of this. So actually what we consider today you to be our backup plan for everything that they didn't hear. So we want you to know what we told them. We want you to help them be aware of their deadlines because deadlines are firm now. And this is what we told them. Deadlines are firm. You can't ask for an extension. And we reminded them a few years ago that, if they have a November 1st deadline, and a few years ago during Hurricane Sandy on October 29th, we were out of power, and not to wait till that long to send their applications because you never know what happens. Many colleges were forgiving of that, but not all of them. So it's just one of those things to be prepared, be very considerate of all of those things. As I said, we'll be reviewing their lists with them as they come to meet with us. We'll maybe discussing additional colleges to add to their list to round them out. We'll look at first quarter grades with them and discuss whether it's important to send them. We do not automatically send those. And then we're just there for every other question that they have. Whatever it is, we make ourselves available. And in the end, the plan is that your child will have a number of good choices, if not their first choice in colleges to consider. As I said, this is not a complicated process, but they may struggle with time management and becoming overwhelmed. And it is our collective job to help them manage that. They may feel real disappointment for the first time in their lives for some of them. And if they're denied from their top school, it's our job to remind them that we're proud of them and that there's so much more to them than what one college thought about them. So you'll be surprised how quickly they bounce back from those disappointments, probably a lot faster than you will, and they'll move on. But they just need to know that we support them, and we'll be with them all the way. So today we're going to go over briefly what we went over with them, and then really a big portion of this is going to be answering your questions that you have. So we're going to start with Kelly and Lori, who are going to talk about your little stars there.
Good morning. So we have been into the senior classes and the admission season has begun. We can feel it heating up, and we know that your sons and daughters feel that as well because they're coming into our offices and telling us so. We expect that there's going to be a lot of questions, and so because there are so many moving parts to the admissions process. But we, like you, want to be sure that everything gets done, and so we want to communicate as much information to assure accuracy. So Lori and I are going to share many of the things that we've discussed with the seniors already as to how to work through the process. And as you can see, this is our simplistic graphic organizer and catchy acronym as a way to clarify the process, STARS. So notice that the student is juggling many different things all at the same time, and it's a really good description of how this all works and how it happens. So as your child is working diligently in class, keeping up with their extracurriculars, now they're also applying to college. So, it can be overwhelming at times, but we can assure you that it all comes together, and we're here to help them and you along the way. So let's get started as to the important details of each. Just to let you know, in the senior classes, we gave them a handy organizer with all the information that they need, and in it was information about the college process, which explains all of the STARS. So as we go through it today, rest assured that they have all the information in the handy folder that we've given them. So to start, the senior appointment.
Thanks. So you just heard that we all were talk to your seniors about scheduling that senior appointment. Now, what is this senior appointment? What they are is one-on-one appointments with just the counselor and your student. And it's tailored to wherever your child is at this process. It's an opportunity for them to talk about their plans, be it college, gap year, post-year, military. Every meeting is tailored to that student and where they're at in the process. During these individual meetings, we'll discuss their pink sheet. This is the senior profile, the pink sheet. It was sent home this summer along with a nice letter. If your child lost it, it can be found online, and if the kids handwrite it, type it up online, it doesn't matter, just as long as we get it as it's required for that senior appointment. It's so helpful to review this with the child when we're writing their letter of recommendation. So you folks can just double check that they have done it and also turned it in either during that appointment or prior would be really helpful. At the senior appointment, we also review their list of colleges. Make sure they have a balanced list of schools, including enough breaches, targets, and favorables. And we also really get down to the details of the application process, making sure they understand all of those balls that you just saw juggling in the air and how everything gets to where they're going, which Kelly and I will explain. And this is not the only meeting that we have with the child. Every student is different. Some students will have weekly check-ins that they really need the encouragement of a Friday to-do list over the weekend. Others we see just a few times throughout the cycle, every other week, really whatever your child needs. And if they have a question before the senior appointment, send them in to see us. We're here every step of the way.
All right, so the T is for transcripts. A transcript is an official document that has your students' courses, the semester grades, and the credit count. One thing I wanted to mention that we gave all of the students is a parent permission form in their folder. And this parent permission form is for us to release the records to the colleges. And it's important that students have you sign this and get this into Mrs. Granite upon their first transcript request. So most transcripts are sent electronically through our registrar. This is Lisa Granite. She's located in the school counseling suite, and she is available from 7:30 in the morning until 2:05, all day long. So students need to give themselves enough time to come in and fill out a transcript request form. We've shown them how to do that in the senior English classes, and they cannot take that form home. So they do need to do that during the school year. The cost is $5 per school, and your student can bring in cash, or you can write a check for New Canaan High School guidance. So what we've asked the students to do is to really look at what their first deadline date is, and sort of give us 1 month, make that request 1 month in advance. That gives us plenty of time to pull together an entire package on behalf of your child. It includes the official transcript, school profile, a secondary school report form, and it gives us enough time to have that senior appointment and to write a letter of recommendation on behalf of the student. So the students don't have to request all of their transcripts at one time. They can come in and do their first, make some decisions about their list, and come back and do it again, and see Mrs. Granite to do that. As Cindy mentioned before, it's important to know that many schools do ask for first quarter grades. We don't send those out automatically, but upon a student's request, we will send them. So because the schools do like to see them progress during the senior year, it's important that the students keep their grades up. So next, we're going to go to applications. With regards to the applications, whether your child is filling out the common application or a college's own application, the documents are very detailed and they take time to complete. You can assist your student actually in really paying attention to those deadlines. And another thing that's new on the common application is that you can print page by page. So as they're complete, you can review that with your child, or just make sure that it's reviewed before it's submitted. We've advised our students not to wait until midnight the night before because the websites do get overloaded from time to time, but giving a week to 2 weeks in advance to submit, that's always a good idea. There are some things that are hidden within the common application that you want to just make sure the students have paid attention to and they haven't missed any questions. So if they're waiting to that last minute and oof, they forgot something, then that's not a good thing. So the panic sets in. So admission within the applications, there's also the essays, and there will be a big essay and perhaps several short answer essays known as the supplements for each school. So it's important to pay attention, for the students to pay attention to all of those things that need to be filled out. Admissions officers have told us that students should take very close care in writing these. They pay close attention to what's said in these responses. And that the admissions counselors have told us that they really want these to be authentic essays and they want to hear the voice of the student. So those writing pieces can be found in 2 places on the Common App, under questions or under supplement. So just be sure to check those 2 spots when filling out the applications because those are sometimes hidden there. There's a variety of different ways that students can apply. Early decision, early action, and regular or rolling admissions. So if your child is contemplating any of the earlies, we always advise that they get those done first, but continue to work on the regular and rolling admission applications because those deadlines creep up pretty quickly. So not to do the earlies and then stop there. So there's so many details to these applications that if your student has any questions about the application, they can feel free to stop in and see us and we'll help them through the process at any time.
And also, before I get on to recommendations, I quickly want you all to know about the resources that we have for your children here at New Canaan High School with the essays. all the counselors, we love reading your kids' essays. We provide feedback. We read it in the eyes of admissions. We also really strongly encourage them to bring their essays either to the writing center or any of their English teachers that they feel they have a connection for the edits and grammar. So we have tons of resources for the essays, the main essay, the supplements, and as I said before, anything they need, we're here for them. Now, moving on to the R of STARS, recommendations. Most colleges require 2 recommendations, and they're typically from junior year and or senior year, because they want to know how students are currently to date in the classroom. Last spring, I'm not sure if you remember at the junior appointment, we encouraged your child last spring to ask at least 1 or 2 of the academic teachers to write their letter of recommendation. And if they're still pondering who to ask, if they haven't asked and followed up this fall, we encourage send your son or daughter in to see us. We can help them brainstorm. And it's so important that this fall your child followed up with a teacher in person just to double check that they're still okay and available to write their letter of recommendation. Because we show the students how to enter the teachers into Naviance, because ultimately they send their recommendations electronically. However, before they get the email notification of the recommendation, we want to keep the human process in and make sure that they talk to them in person. Now, the teacher recommendations. The colleges want to know how active your child is in classroom participation, the level of motivation, and if their work is thoughtful and submitted on time, and to really paint the picture of your child in their classroom. And we also really encourage your child to write thank you notes to the teachers. They really go above and beyond. It takes a lot of time to write the recommendations, and there's never anything wrong with an old-fashioned thank you note for all the time that they take on their own to write the recommendation. And there's also, we love writing the recommendations as well. Every counselor will write on behalf of your child, and it gives us the opportunity to convey the student's character, their personal qualities, that the admissions can't see in just their test scores and their GPA. It really provides a wonderful overview of your child, including the academics, the academic story, extracurricular activities, any volunteer activities that they've been doing. We really dive in and write a nice story about your son and daughter. Always, of course, so supportive. It's really fantastic writing down. Your kids are all amazing. During the senior appointment, every year, I'm always so amazed when I review the senior profile, which remember is required for the senior appointment, of all the wonderful things that they do. And even though we know your kids, we always learn so much more. So we take this part of our job seriously. So we get a lot of information from the senior profile. In addition, another thing that we love to read and is so helpful for the recommendations is the parent questionnaire. This was sent home as well on a yellow sheet. If you misplaced it, can't find it, you could also find it online, and you could feel free to submit it through Google Doc, I believe. Or you can also email it to us or drop it off, whatever is easier for you. So we really appreciate them. The last S in STARS is scores. This is another piece of the application. Your student will need to request all of his SAT, subject test, or ACT scores to be sent directly from those 2 organizations you see on the PowerPoint to the colleges. So they have to log on to collegeboard.com or act.org. And kids do need to do this about 3 weeks in advance, and this is something that you all can help them manage. Possibly you can do this, or just make sure that it's done about 3 weeks before the first deadline, because it takes time for the colleges to actually go into cyberspace and pull them, and also ACT and College Board kind of batches them. They don't send them out each individual request. They do it in batches, that's for sure. And also, take a deep breath when it comes to standardized testing. As we always say, every admissions officers have taken them, and they know that this is not the #1 factor in admissions. And also, some schools that require that they want to see all the testing dates, rest assured, you have nothing to worry about. The majority of colleges pluck super score, so they'll take the highest critical reading, math, and writing, and use that in admissions. In terms of the ACTs, just a few schools do that, but that is sometimes an option. And also briefly on scores, some schools are test optional. To send or not to send scores to those particular colleges, that could be something discussed at the senior appointment, because it is individual and depending on how they do. So that's just some helpful reminders. Perfect. And now, I believe our lovely Sue Carroll, the Director of College and Career Center, will be speaking to all.
we've been very busy since school began in the College and Career Center. As far as the class of 2016 is concerned, we're preparing for college visits, but we also have an eye on future senior internship program, which is also run out of the College and Career Center. Seniors will be able to apply to that program in December, when most of the dust has settled from initial applications, and the dust will settle, trust me. I did my first mock interview with a student yesterday of the season, so I want you to know that that service is available to your students as well if they have an interview coming up on a college campus. College visits are scheduled starting next Tuesday with the University of San Diego. The visits are scheduled on the half hour, for a half hour, the intention being that no student would miss an entire class. They need to ask permission to come to the visit from their teachers. The visits are posted on the New Canaan High School website, right on the home page. It's also posted on the school counseling page, and it is also posted on Navion's. If your child has a particular school on his or her list, the system, Navion's, will send your child a reminder, an invitation from their guidance counselor to attend this visit. They don't have to RSVP, but it's helpful to me so that I know, for example, are there going to be 47 kids at the visit, or is it just going to be me and the rep? So it is helpful. It's vital from here on in, if they don't already know this, they have to read their email. This is still going to be the #1 way that a college is going to communicate with the students, even when the kid is finally in college. So it's very, very important. Check the school email. Most of the reps that come to New Canaan High School are the first readers of our students' applications. So this is quite an amazing connection that they can form. We take attendance at these meetings. And that attendance sheet goes to the only person I'm afraid of in the building, Mrs. LaPola. So when it doesn't happen the way she wants it to happen, I hear about it. So this, I always like this for audiovisual purposes. This is the list so far. So as you can see, it's worse than a child's Christmas list. We are very, very blessed. We have 160 colleges coming so far, and more making appointments every single day. If your child cannot attend the visit, then they can come into my office and they can fill out a college regret form. The regret form has all the information that a college would also have them fill out on one of those cards, the index cards that the college reps all bring. These are right in front of my desk. They can come in before the visit. Now, invariably, students come in after the visit, and I tell them, oh, Elvis has left the building, and they don't know who Elvis is, so it's completely lost on them. So, your kids have been told all of that information about asking permission, but you can imagine during the week of October 12th, we are seeing 2 colleges every half hour. The students need to have pity on their teachers because they're going to be asking to come back and forth many times to the classroom. It's important that they really check with their teachers. Things in general for the College and Career Center and for the school counseling office, you may have noticed that our website is being updated. We beg your patience as we transfer all the information from the College and Career Center website and the school counseling website combined into one. So if we've told you something is there and it doesn't seem to be there yet, it will be soon. So I appreciate, and if there's a question that you have about the website, don't hesitate to ask. Also, if you would like, you're more than welcome to like the College and Career Center on Facebook and follow the College and Career Center on Twitter. Most of the information that you're going to find in both of those locations is also usually in the guidance update. So it's not that we're trying to withhold information from you, but it certainly is much more immediate on either of those places. Such information such as scholarship information, when the next gap year fair is, all of that information is both on the Facebook page, College and Career Center, NCH College and Career Center. We'll tweet it out, but it also, you'll find it on the, certainly on the guidance update. That's it, thank you.
Career Center on Facebook. And what I'm going to put in a plea for is Sue has this wonderful kind of clipping service, and she culls really interesting articles. And it's great for me because I'm at home and I read all these articles, and I don't have to be reading the Huffington Post or whatever is there. It's a very helpful thing. So I can only tell you, like them, have your kids like them too. So when I talked to Cindy, she said, your role is to soothe parents. I don't know whether I'm good at that, but I'll do my best. So first of all, you've had masses of information. So I want you to take a deep breath and close your eyes. Come on, this is touchy-feely. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine it's the day before graduation. Yes, it's going to come that quickly. And before we talk about how you can help your child navigate the college admissions process, I want you to make sure that you schedule lots of downtime with them. This is it. They're going to be leaving the nest this time next year. So make the most of those wonderful family times you have and celebrate raising such great kids. So let's put the tissues away now and focus on how you can help. The process is very lengthy. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And you might have a child who thinks they know where they want to go and plans to have everything in place by November. Every application ready to go, scores sent, the whole thing. It's probably not going to happen. So bear in mind, it takes a little longer. This is going to be really hard for you because I think as parents, we want to step in and do things for our children. And you have to wait for them to get it done. Some students are still not ready to get going on this process. So one plea I'm going to make is if you have a child who's procrastinating, within the next couple of weeks, give us a call. We can call them in and gently remind them it's probably time to start thinking about life beyond New Canaan High School. We can partner with you on that. So what are the practical things that you can do to help them? Well, I'm going to tell you that you're all going to be secretaries, because that to me is the description of practically how you can help your child. So you can offer to make any college visit plans if they're still doing those. You can offer to send the scores. You can keep a spreadsheet of the deadlines. You can help them by setting a timetable week by week to ensure that all of the applications get completed on time. And I'm going to reiterate what my colleagues have said. You want to have the application submitted at least 5 days ahead of time. That way, if the system crashes, you and your child can be smug. You got your information in ahead of time. Now, in order to do this and still keep up with good grades, leaders in the school, extracurricular activities, it's helpful to suggest to your child that they set aside some time each week just to focus on this process. For me, Sunday afternoon seems to work very well. I'm not a football player. I'm a bit of a fan, but I like the Jets, so that's kind of a miserable situation. So that's why Sunday afternoon works for me. But I'm using that as a pure example because I worry about students who are finishing up their homework. They perhaps participated in a sport or run a club meeting. It's 10 o'clock at night and they think, oh, let me get a section of the Common App done. They're exhausted. That's not a good way to handle things. So just a suggestion that you might make with them. Help them set achievable deadlines. Oh, I'm going to get the Common App done in one session. That probably isn't achievable. So maybe the achievable deadline is to suggest just get a couple of sections done. Revise a draft of the essay. Answer a specific college's question. That way they feel good when they achieve something like that. I'm sure you all know or are finding out how expensive colleges are at the moment. Some of these state colleges are $40,000 plus a year. So this is the time to talk to them now, if costs are going to factor into that ultimate decision. It is better to have the discussion now rather than burst bubbles when we get to March or April. A good thing is also to tell them to start thinking about scholarships. Mrs. Carroll's volunteers do a fabulous job in updating the list of scholarships available on Naviance. We as counselors start getting scholarship information, so it's helpful for your child to let us know that they would love to have some scholarship money in the pot, if at all possible. And I'm going to make a big plea for financial aid night. October the 8th at 7:30 in this very room, so you'll know where to go. This is a program that gives really excellent, completely updated and timely advice. We hope that you will join us. So another thing you can do is to dispel, as we call it, magical thinking. Magical thinking is, if I want it badly enough, it will happen. So help your child to be realistic. Know that they have 2 or 3 strongly favorable schools on that final list, and we may not be at the final list stage yet. These are schools where they really have a good, strong chance of becoming admitted. If the current likelies on the list don't seem to excite them, in other words, you drove up on a visit and they refused to get out of the car, then they really shouldn't be applying there. There are over 3,000 or 4,000 colleges in this country. We can help them find options. It would be very distressing, I think, for any of us to hear from a student, I only got into my likely schools and I've got no intention of going. That's not what we want to happen. On another note, there isn't one perfect school for your child. There are lots of perfect schools for your child. We want them to love all the schools that are on their final list. Wherever they land, they're going to be very successful. Our teachers, our academics do a great job of preparing your child for college. They're going to be successful. They're going to be happy. So show them right now you're proud of them and that you're confident that things will work out and they will end up in a great place. So while you need to be discussing the process from time to time, please do not fall into the trap of talking about college at every family dinner or every car ride. And I've been there. I've had 2 children who've gone through college. It's tough because it sort of takes over your life. But for those of you who have children with younger siblings, it can be really awful for them. So when it's their turn, they want no part of this. So here's a suggestion. If you need to talk to them, set up a time during the week. Maybe it's that half hour before they're actually doing the applications. And once you've talked to them, once you've had the dialogue between you, try and not talk about the college ad nauseam. Find a stress reliever that works for you. I think that's really important, and that's going to be for each child. I mean, I'm sure some people would love to go to Chicken Joe's as often as possible. Some people would like a Starbucks. Whatever seems to work is what you should do. Last but not least. So, there are 8 counselors sitting here. We all work as a team. We go off on visits. We go to programs. We share the information amongst us. We are incredibly fortunate to work with such a wonderful staff. Sue Carroll, our wonderful registrar who is so detail-oriented, you wouldn't believe it, Lisa Granite. We have 2 marvelous secretaries. We're all here to help you and your child navigate this process. We have a lot of years of experience. Our aim in life is to provide the best possible outcome for each of your children, and we're going to do everything we can to make that a reality. One last thing. On October the 14th, you may have heard that the sophomores and juniors are going to be taking the newly redesigned PSAT. So we will have a program for freshmen, and we will have a program for seniors. This is kind of exciting for us because we've invited between 8 and 10 reps of colleges who seem to be very popular amongst our students. And they were so thrilled when we asked them to come. They're going to be available to your students to help them with any questions that they have on the application process. So we're still finalizing details. We'll let you know more closer to the event. But please put this on your family calendar, October the 14th. While unfortunately half the school is testing, your seniors are going to be very fortunate to have this program. So I don't know whether I soothed you. I hope I did. But now you can get all hyper again because I think we're going to questions.
I think you did a good job. All right, questions. What haven't we touched on here that people have some questions about?
As far as the timing for setting the scores and applications,
Yeah, this is one thing the kids asked too, and one of the things we really brought up, it goes back to all the balls being in the air at the same time. You're doing everything at the same time. Whatever, you can order the scores now and have them sent to colleges. Whatever happens, the colleges wait till they get to the application from the student before they pull in all the other pieces. Really, everything is, the recommendations are coming from one area, our recommendations and profile and transcripts are coming from our office, scores are coming from another area. So everything is sort of coming in and sitting in cyberspace till the college is ready to pull down the information and start to review an application. Once the application is complete, then they will start reviewing the student's file. So at any point you can start it, a file is started for them, but it's not reviewed till everything else is there.
whichever like an estimated piece, then do you get some sort of email from a college or?
Some colleges are really good at that because in each case, usually now they have an electronic account with the college that will let them know that they're missing certain pieces. Now, of course, if we just sent it on Monday and on Friday they're saying they missed it, don't panic about it. We get this every year. You didn't send it, you didn't send it. Well, yes, we did send it. They haven't pulled it in yet. So it's just a matter of giving them a few weeks to see that they've received the materials. We can, and the kids can look on Navance to see that things have been submitted, but the colleges may not have pulled it in at that point. So.
Yes, what happens if a college specifically says they only want one teacher recommendation and one counselor? Do you have to then go back to all your schools and maybe research to make sure that they want one or two, because there might be some that only want one?
Yeah, this is new this year, and this is something we've talked to the kids about, a new process. Does somebody want to manage that? So, go ahead. The question was, in some cases, colleges are only accepting one recommendation, and how do the kids manage that when they have 2 or 3 going, but they only are asking for one recommendation? Linda, you're going to have to use the microphone actually because it's being taped, so. You must, or I could be a roving reporter here.
So in Common App, on one of the pages, it's on the FERPA
Good morning,
page.
students, staff, and community members. This is Mr. Egan. At this time, on the 14th anniversary of September 11th, please join me in a moment of silence to honor the lives lost on that day. We must always remember the past as we look towards the future. Thank you, and have a nice weekend, everyone.
Okay, the question was about teacher recommendations. If a college only accepts one and only one is allowed to go through the Common App. It's not a lot of schools, most will accept 2 or more, but if there is only one, you can find it in Common App. We explain to the kids on one of the pages, it's the FERPA page, it'll say how many are allowed, how many are required, and how many are allowed. So they may require 2 and they accept 3. So that's not a problem when a student has asked 2 teachers, or maybe they have someone, an outside recommender. But if they only allow 1, what happens in Common App, and we've discovered this over the years, is that the first teacher who has put it into the Naviance system, that's the one that goes first. So it may not be the one that the student wants to go to a particular school. So we've instituted, and they've gotten in their packet, a yellow form that they're going to be giving to each of the teachers. Laura's holding it up there. They're going to be giving that to their teachers, and they're going to be listing the names of the colleges they want them to send their recommendations to. So let's say we know that Villanova is only requiring 1 and accepting 1. So that if your child is applying to that type of school, they have to decide which teacher they want that one single recommendation to go, and they will put that on this yellow form and hand that to the teacher. Does that make sense to everybody?
What are the teachers retired from?
There were a number of great junior teachers that retired last year and did agree to write recommendations. We've received a number of them through Lisa Granite. She has them in electronic files waiting to be sent, so we will be sending them on. If your student doesn't know whether or not that rec has been received, they need to see Lisa Granite, and she will tell them if they've received them. We've been in communications with a lot of the retired teachers, and most of them are great. They did them over the summer, and they're just resting there for them.
Go ahead, Sam.
If there's an outside recommendation that your child thinks is important to include in the application, a coach, a priest, anything, does that just get mailed? Is there an avenue through Naviance that it can be sent?
Yeah, there is not an avenue through Naviance for outside recommenders was the question. If the recommendations through Naviance are just faculty members, so if that you have an outside recommendation, it can either be in Common App under other recommenders. There's a place that they could do that and upload it through there, or the student will provide stamped addressed envelopes for the recommendation to go that way. And also, when there's only, you can't send them through Naviance because they only accept 2, students can still send via mail the 3rd one or something like that if they still feel it's important. We're not sure the college will read it, but can't hurt to send it to them just in case.
In other recommender, I guess my son, he wasn't here last year, so they have to come from outside of Naviance. Do the other recommenders also fall under the same category, so that they'll be the first other recommender goes to the one college? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think under other recommenders, there's a limit there as well. What would you, yeah. So you would have to look at that. And so probably the best thing, if that's the case, again, to have them mail them directly. So.
If a school requires all test scores, are you required to send both categories of SAT and ACT? For instance, if you had your child take both just to see, and maybe they took one of those tests cold and maybe even bombed that, when they say all tests, can you just stick within one category of SAT versus ACT, or are you then required to submit all scores in both categories?
I'll have someone else weigh in on that. Me, I tend to break the rules, whether it's the rule or not. I say send whatever you want, and it's all ACT or all SAT in my mind. And I don't generally.
I think that's probably what you don't have to send all scores of every test that you've taken. You can pick an SAT or ACT. We say send all your SAT scores or all your ACT scores. Yeah.
But this is kind of the flip side of that. If the school says, okay, don't require these scores, if they're not required, does that mean it's an option, or that means you absolutely should?
Yeah, this is something that someone else can handle too. Yeah, this is always a good question to ask.
Somebody's asking about test optional schools. Should you automatically not send your scores if a school is test optional? We've talked to enough admissions officers to know that if a student is not submitting test scores, they're expecting the GPA to be pretty strong. They're not looking to gotcha with kids, but they want to know as much about the kids. And sometimes they'll ask for a piece of writing, they'll ask for other graded papers, things that can give them more of an idea about a student.
But should you, if it says, if they're not required and they're still okay, should you go ahead and send them or not?
I think I would suggest going ahead and sending them, yeah.
And I always look at, yes, I think if they're strong for that school, if they are at the above average level for that school, definitely send them. If they're the average for that school, that's a conversation to have with the counselor as to whether you do it. The also caveat with this is that on Common App, they ask you to put your scores in. If you are considering score optional schools, you may not want to fill out the category of putting in what current scores you have. So the self-reporting thing, it's not a required category. So if that is one of those things where you think you may not be sending scores to all schools, you may want to just leave that category blank until you've made that decision.
So if your student doesn't do an interview during the campus tour, when is the time to send interviews out?
This is a question about interviews. Does anybody want to take that? Sue Carroll.
There are 3 different kinds of interviews. One would be an informational interview where the college is really not, the representative is not going to ask your child any questions really about themselves. It's an opportunity though for your child to ask questions about the college or university on a one-on-one basis. It's still an interview as far as I'm concerned. The second kind of interview is an evaluative interview, usually on campus, where they will actually write up a report about the student as soon as the student leaves the room. They're going to ask questions about the student's curriculum currently, the student's interests. The third kind of interview happens off campus. It's an alumni interview. If you apply, for example, to an Ivy League school, once the application has been submitted, and it varies at different schools, it could just be the first piece of the application, the supplement, then you will be notified by the admissions office, and they will set up an alum interview with you locally. That will happen at a Starbucks, at the interviewer's home. So those are the 3 different kinds of interviews. Some colleges, when they're on the road, when the road warrior reps are on the road, like coming to New Canaan High School, they'll ask me for a room, they'll do a couple of interviews here, or they'll interview in the lobby of a hotel where they're staying. So those are local interviews that your students will have an opportunity. They are usually emailed that information because they've already filled out initial information connecting them to the college. Does that answer? Yeah.
So they've already filled out initial information with you or with the college?
No, with the college. For example, you went on a tour at Union College. You liked it. The union rep is coming to New Canaan. They have their evenings free, and gee, wouldn't it be fun to interview a lot of teenagers? So that's what they do. Okay?
And that's one more reason to read the emails, for students to read the emails, because that's how they communicate that they're going to be in town.
And also, not all colleges interview. This is for some colleges. Quite a few colleges do not interview at all. So it's really up to the college what they want to do.
My question is a follow-up on reading emails, which doesn't always happen in this world of text messaging. What if on an early college visit, the parent signed up for the tour and the info session, and the parent is now getting bombed with emails and this is when we're coming to town.
Right.
Should we be switching it over to our students?
Then it's a great opportunity for your students.
Repeat the question first.
There is, if you have made the initial contact to the college, I think I actually need this. If the parent made the initial contact to the college, so the college has your contact information, this is a wonderful opportunity for your student to now contact the admissions office and say, at this address, this is the email address I would like you to use. So it's a great opportunity for you to touch. Small liberal arts colleges will keep track of all these touches, so that's an important thing. But just contact the admissions office and say, here's the school email.
So by starting a new portal with the school, the student doesn't lose credit for having
No,
visited?
no.
Okay, other questions?
I have a question here.
Okay.
Touched on this, but
Part of the excused absence policy is college visits, so it will be an excused absence, but yes, you can, we give them, Mr. Rothman here, we give them a break when they're doing college visits and take that into consideration, that they are going to need to take time this year as part of the process to revisit schools, and certainly in April, March and April, when they're finally deciding which schools, that they may be taking some more time. And so we do, though it's part of the attendance, I would say we're a little comfortable with that. Mr. Rothman, what would you say?
Are you asking me to speak about the policy, Mrs. Rivera?
I'm asking you to say about what we really do, Mr. Rothman.
The attendance policy is spelled out clearly in both the student handbook and the...
Thank you very much.
How many visits allowed? How many excuses allowed?
Well, thank you, Mrs. Rivera, for turning this into my show now. Very simply...
You feel included.
That's fine. Very simply, for a full-time class, there are 12 absences of any type. I will give you an opinion, not the policy bending that Mrs. Rivera is referring to. If a student is legitimately absent and loses credit, and we have documentation for illnesses, and 1 or 2 college visits puts them over, that's a lot easier to work with than 12 college visits scheduled during the school day. I hope that was vague enough for you, Mrs. Rivera.
I love your answer, Mr. Rothman, thank you. So be careful about that.
My daughter is going to be submitting in the supplement section for music, and it's a program called Slide Room, and this is, I'm unfamiliar, I know nothing about it, I'm not musical, I know nothing. So I was wondering, is there anyone in your group there that knows about Slide Room? Or that I don't, you don't have to tell me now, but that you can, I can email as a group and say.
Yeah, I think the art supplements in general and the music supplements in general are spelled out very clearly by the colleges themselves as to what they need, and your kids know better than we all do, but we certainly will assist them in that process. Does someone want to add to that?
Also, another great resources are your kids' either art teacher or music teacher. Slideshow, I think that's part of what Gina McDonough does with her advanced studio art students. So definitely they're a wealth of resource.
Question?
If a college asks what other colleges a student is applying to, should they answer that or not?
What I say to kids is you can always put a few colleges down. You're not required to do that. I tend to tell them, put like colleges in that field. I think colleges don't want to know that they are the backup school to other schools. So I think that's where you're trying to be careful to not put down schools that are much more competitive than that school perhaps is. Does that make sense?
It's not required.
It's not required.
Colleges will also cull that information so that they have a sense of who their competition is. They will often, when we go on tours, we actually ask the tour guides, where else did you apply? Because in the same sense, we have an idea what students are looking at within that group of colleges and what colleges are looking at within that group of colleges for themselves. That's a bit, I'm sorry if it's...
But it's good information for the colleges they like to use. Kathy?
If there is a college that has not only Common App, but their own application, and of course, they always say, use whatever you feel comfortable with. Is there an advantage to using one or the other, or I've encountered a couple of schools that say we have our own app and we also use the Common App. Choose whatever you want.
I don't feel there's no advantage or disadvantage, except for sometimes they offer you the ability to not pay the fee by using their own app. that they have a priority application or a VIP application, and they're waiving the application fee and making it very easy for you to apply. There's really no difference, but the key to that is letting us know that even though it's a Common App school, you're not using the Common App, because that can screw up the whole process of us getting things transmitted to the college. But otherwise, I think for a lot of colleges, it's a way to streamline kids who meet the criteria based on scores alone and GPA and don't need a whole lot of other information. So I think that's their main reason for doing that. Common App signs an agreement that says they will not discriminate. All colleges sign an agreement they would not discriminate depending on. Common App has now been around for 20 years, and so whereas in the beginning, where some of us were still working, there was a distinct choice to make. It's no longer true. For AP scores, they're all not looking at me, so. No, we as counselors report on those scores to the colleges. They don't use it in the admissions process, but it's good info. Sometimes they ask for it. They see that you took an AP in sophomore or junior year. They'd like to know what the score was. Generally speaking, they don't use it as part of admissions. We do report on it so that they know that, particularly for the student who may have had a weaker SAT score or a grade in that AP US history class that doesn't quite match the fact that they got a 5 on the test, that we would certainly want to report that they mastered the material in that. The students do not have to submit official scores till after they've been enrolled in the college and want to use it for credit.
When the kids come in to request the transcripts, do they need to bring a list of the addresses still, or is that electronic?
Yeah, that's all electronic now. They do need to know where and what city and state and branch. We did advise the kids. There are Loyolas all over the country. There are Trinities all over the country. Penn State has different branches. They need to know exactly which school that they're applying to. So some parents get really zealous and are doing a lot of the applying for the kids. We hope you know not to do that. But we do have kids every year going, I don't know where I applied. And so please don't do that. It always is amazing to us. Do you know where you're attending? Well, good. We're here for a few minutes. If you guys need to have some more information or personal conversations, we're always available for phone calls. I hope you signed up over there. There's packets of information, articles. Thank you very much.